All right, let's go back to writing an equation. If, unless you're told otherwise, we assume slope-intercept form. Okay, so that's what we're going to end up writing it in here. What did you need to know in order to be able to write a function in slope-intercept form? I wrote it for you on that first page. In order to be able to write a function in slope-intercept form, what do they need to start you with? I would assume you know that we need to end up with slope and y-intercept. But all the way at the bottom of the first page, it says in order to write a function. And then it tells you like option A or option B, what you would have to be given. Either give you slope on a point or give you 2 points. What are they giving you here? They're giving you a graph. Count this as the same thing as if they're giving you 2 points. The difference is instead of them just writing it for you like they did towards the end yesterday, you get to pick the 2 points. Pick whichever points you want. If you're smart about it, you don't have to, but if you're smart about it, because you're able to see the graph and because you want to end up in slope-intercept form, what do you think would be a good point to pick if you have that option? I need to pick 2 points. I need to pick 2 points. A line is made up of an infinite amount of points. And yes, I can pick any 2 points that I want. But if I'm going to be smart about it and I know that I have to end up in slope-intercept form, what do you think would be some smart points to pick? Oh, close. You're getting there. Getting warmer. What do you call the point on the y-axis? The y-intercept. I think that would be a smart one. Now, sometimes if you have like a point crossing the y somewhere in between numbers, yeah, it's not going to help you because you don't know where it is. But like here, it's pretty obvious. Where is this line crossing the y-axis? It's at 3. So definitely I want that to be one of my points. For the second point, just pick whichever one. I mean, I guess you could pick an x-intercept if it's available. It's not going to really give you any type of advantage, but you know, it's up to you what point you want to pick as your second one. But realize if you are able to snag that y-intercept as one of your points, you already have y-intercept. So what's the only thing left to find if we're going to write in slope-intercept form? Slope. I only need slope. So pick whichever point you want. Yeah, if you want to go with the x-intercept, if that's available, you can go with it too. I mean, I don't think it's that much of an advantage, but maybe because of the 0, you're less likely to make a mistake on slope formula. Do you have the notes from yesterday, actually? So all I need to do is find slope. Slope is 3 minus 0 over 0 minus 6. Make sure you get the order correct. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. So 3 over negative 6 is negative 1/2. I now have the slope. I already had the y-intercept. Somebody write the function for me in slope-intercept form. Got a quiz on Friday. I've already found all the work for the work has been done. All you got to do is plug it in. Somebody showed me that you were listening yesterday. And even if you were half asleep, that the other half was paying attention. Here, any idea? You're telling me that you're here every day? No. Jade, write the function in slope-intercept form now that I've already circled the slope and the y-intercept for you. Go ahead, Donnie. Is that like half of a hand up now? Trey? Trey. I'll get to you. Okay, wait, you said what before the x? Negative what? Oh, it's not. It's sorry. It's back. Yeah. Negative 1/2 x plus 3. Good. Done. Done and done. You can still write it down on regular paper. You don't have regular paper. Oh, and another question I forgot to ask you. Even before I did slope formula, what could I already tell about this slope? Um, before very good. That's exactly right. And the reason why that's important is because I think some of the most common mistakes that occur with slope, assuming that you know more or less how to use the formula, is with science. So if you could tell by looking at it that that's a negative slope, but you're getting a positive slope with slope formula, you know you're doing something wrong. So just keep that in mind. Here, like I can tell already that this slope um, is positive. I know I should be getting a positive. Now notice here, I would love to get the y-intercept, but I really can't because it looks like it's passing just below the 2. There's no way to know for sure where it's passing, but luckily on this one, um, there's 2 points that have been highlighted for me. Hint, 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 hint. Get used to that for the quiz. It's questions are structured. So let's identify those points. What are the 2 points that are being highlighted for you? So you might as well just use those. There is no negative 1 and 1. Do those points come out on your printout or not? They didn't? Oh, you can't see them? Yeah, well, the points are negative, and feel free to highlight them on your paper. Like you write them in. It's negative 2, negative 1, and 1, 3. Those are the 2 points. So now that I know what the points are, this becomes just like the problems that we did towards the end of the day yesterday. Because now we know the points. The only thing different between those problems and these is I had to identify the points that I want to use. They're giving me 2 points. I need slope and y-intercept. What do I need to find first? L slope of. So you figure out which one you want to use as point 1 and point 2, what the slope is equal to, the first y. Remember to change, like I'm using this as my second point. It doesn't matter which point you use as your second point, but I'm using that one. Whatever you use as your second point, you have to change the signs. So like I kept the first y the same, but then the second y I changed to -3. I keep the first x the same, but then I change the second x to -1. I know that books say y2 minus y1. If you want to do it the other way, that's fine. We should end up with the same thing. I like to go from left to right. It's just a personal preference. So m is equal to -4 over -3. I cannot divide 4 by 3, but what's negative divided by negative? Positive. Which is what we said. We said before that we knew we were going to get a positive slope. How do I find y-intercept? Well, there is a way to find it directly, but I showed you yesterday how to use point slope. So that's what we're going to do again. There's actually, I was taking a second look at the quiz, there's actually some more problems than I thought that where you have to end up in point slope. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I would assume most of you like less work than more work. So if the problem allows you to finish in point slope, that's less work. So how would I write this first in point slope? What would I write first? Well, first you have to pick a point, because it's point. I have 2 points, but you can just pick one. Ferris, you've been good today, so what do you want to, which point do you want to use? Fine, let's use 1 and 3. So what am I going to write first?
Y minus 3.
Good. So y minus the y of that point, which is 3, is equal to?
M.
What's m?
Over 3.
Good, so 4 over 3. Let me change the color for your eyes to see. Y minus 3 is equal to 4 over 3, which we just found. Parentheses, that's the big indicator that we're in point slope, it's the parentheses.
X minus.
And then the x minus the x of that same point, which is 1. Now be careful in point slope. An equation could look an infinite amount of ways. If I would have used this point instead, it would look different here on this step. Yeah, it would look different. But once I change the slope intercept, it doesn't matter what point I use, it's going to look the same. If you solve correctly, it shouldn't matter what point you use. Diana, you've also been good today. What's the first step here? Good distributing. I know that we didn't like that yesterday. 4/3 times x is 4/3. And yeah, this is what we didn't like, the whole thing about a fraction. But think about it. If we came back and look at the picture, because what we're looking for is the y-intercept, we can tell that this is crossing somewhere between 1 and 2. So we know we're going to end up with a fraction. It is what it is. Like, we're going to end up with a fraction no matter what. So negative 1 times 4/3 is negative 4/3. Kira, what's the last step to get y by itself? Very good. But because the negative 4/3 is a fraction, I'm going to want to write the 3 as a fraction. What's the least common denominator? If you know how to do this on the calculator, fine. I mean, be my guest. But if you don't, what's the least common denominator of 3 and 1? 3. So that means that the 4/3 gets to stay the same. This negative 4/3 gets to stay the same. But then this 1 has to turn into a 3 on the bottom. 1 times what gives you 3? So 4 times 3 is, sorry, 4 times 3, sorry. 3 times 3. If you're ever not sure if you did it right, you should be able to divide these two and still end up with what you started with. If not, you did it wrong. What is negative 4 plus 9? It is positive 5/3. If you like to pay attention to detail, okay, if you're very detail oriented and you don't want to be sloppy, something that might interest you. Does anybody actually even have a calculator out? If you have one, you can almost check your work. It doesn't guarantee that you did it right, but there's a very good chance you'll be correct. Divide 5 by 3 and tell me what you get. Yeah, 1.666666 repeated, right? What two integers is 1.666666 in between? Like what two whole numbers is 1?
1 and 2.
1 and 2. Go back and look at the picture. What two integers is the line crossing the y-axis in between? 1 and 2. So there's a pretty good chance that you got it right. If you're coming over here and getting like 7/3 or something, and then that gives you like 2 point something, well then now you know you did something wrong because it's not crossing on the picture where you're getting it. Any other questions? All right, let's go to the table. On the graph, I told you to treat this as 2 points. Remember that you either start off with slope on a point or start off with 2 points. So our table also treat this as 2 points. The only difference is they might give you more than 2 points. So who cares? You pick 2 of them. Pick whichever 2 you want. Donnie, I would love to get you involved. So give me 2 points you would like to pick. There's 5 of them, but just pick 2 of them. Okay, well, negative 6 and 12 would be 1 point. That's one ordered pair. Now give me one more. Oh, so he's getting dangerous. Okay. I would advise you to pick 2 that are consecutive, but he wants to pick these. Okay, doesn't matter. If anything, this will prove a point. It does not matter which points you want to pick. Maybe he just likes the numbers 6 and 4. When they give you 2 points, what do you have to find first? When they give you 2 points, what do you need to find first?
Slope.
Yeah, you have to find slope first. So let's do that. Slope is equal to, well, the first y I see is 12 minus the second y I see is 16. I change the sign to minus 16. The first x I see is negative 6. The second one I see is negative 4, but I got to change that to a plus 4. So I got negative 4 over negative 2, which gives me, that's my slope. What's the last thing I have to find? Well, I need the y-intercept. I need the y-intercept, but in order to do that, we're going to start off from point slope. I got the slope. I have 5 points to pick from. Pick any single one point. It doesn't even need to be one of the points you pick for slope. It could be any point you want. Donnie, since you did such a great job with slope, you pick. Just give me a point. Doesn't matter which one it is. You can pick whichever point you want. Negative 220. So he's all over the place. He really wants to test this stuff. So let's go for it. Let's embrace it. Y minus the y there, so it's going to be y minus 20 is equal to, slope comes next, 2, we just found that it's 2, parentheses, x, and then change the sign of the x at that point. Wait, but mister, what would happen if I would have picked negative 3 and 18? Well, it would look different here, but once you solve for y, it'll look the same. You want me to do it more than once? I'll show you. Ferris, you're giving me a look of like doubt. You're doubting me. Yeah, you don't care. Y minus 20 is equal to 2x plus 4 plus 20 plus 20. Y is equal to 2x plus 24. What did the y-intercept end up being? Yeah, 24. The y-intercept ended up being 24. If what? Yeah, sure. Look, watch. We have time. Pick a different number and see if we end up with the same thing. Just to show you, because I think you're doubting me. You want to use negative 5 and 14, all right? Let's use negative 5 and 14. So then in that case, it would be y minus 14, still the same slope, and it would be x plus 5. Would you agree there? I used the points that you wanted. Notice how it obviously looks different in point slope. Point slope looks different because we're using different points, but let's compare how it looks once we put it into slope intercept. Y minus 14 is equal to 2x plus 10 plus 14 plus 14. Hot dang, will you look at that? Magic. I can tell you're impressed. Yeah. Annalisa's impressed too. You look like Chris today. He's not wearing red shoes though. You're not friends with Chris? He's nice. You should, he's a nice boy. Why don't you guys do this one? Give me that function in slope intercept form. Nobody yet? I don't like food. Fractions drove me crazy. Eso les analiza. Keep up. Jay, no. Okay. Is anybody gonna get closer, or should I just do it for you? Chris, you close? You tripping? Chris, pick 2 points for me. Pick 2 points. It's just you can. It's not a wrong answer. Just pick any 2 points you see there. I would advise you to pick two that are like next to each other, but which one? Okay, that's 1 point. -12 and 6. Okay, and then what do I want to use? Okay, perfect. So let's use those two. Chris has spoken. So now let's use slope formula. Just in case you weren't here yesterday, this is what I'm about to use now. So first I'm going to subtract the y's. This is 9, and then, actually no. Let's do it the way I like. I'm going to do the 6 first, -9. But then I'll do -12, and then whatever comes second, which is in this case the -10, I have to change the sign. 6 minus 9 is -3. -12 plus 10 is -2. So my slope should have been over 2. Did anybody even get that far? Did anybody have that slope before I did? Yeah, I know you did. You did, Tazon? Cool. So then I'll let you pick the point to use. I have 5 points to pick from. It doesn't matter which one. You want to use the first one, -14 and 3? Okay, doesn't matter which one, but let's use that one. -14 and 3, so I would write y minus 3. Y minus 3 is equal to 3 over 2, and then x plus 14. That's just because you picked that point. If you picked a different point, it would look different at this stage. Also remember, what is this form called? Point slope. So if a question asks you to write a function in point slope, you would stop there. What comes next? Distribute. Uh-oh, you're making me distribute a fraction. No! Not too bad. Especially if you have a calculator. What is 3 times 14? Mm-hmm. Should be 42 divided by 2. It is 21. Good. Plus 21 plus 3 plus 3 cancels. Y equals 3 over 2x plus 24. What did the y-intercept end up being? Have you ever gotten into a conversation with Jade? He talks louder. You ever talk to Donnie? You guys both talk loud. All right, see if you can do that one. Well, you still need to look at it. You're not.
No.
This one should be a lot more quick. And if you have a good understanding, which means you're going to do well on Friday, you can see why this one should be much more quick. You know? Pretty stretchy. Oh, okay, yeah. Notice that the 6 minus 12, the negative 12 on the second one. So, yeah, the quotient is still good positive. Just like you 6 positive, the quotient is still positive, but the negative is positive. Whatever comes second. So, like, positive 12. Um, 6 minus 12. That's what you have. Can anybody tell why this one should have been much more quick? Yes. You can give me the answer if you want.
Equals 3x plus 9.
Okay, I agree with that. Now, can you explain to me why this should be much more quick than the last two?
There's no fraction.
No. No. Yeah, I know. Say it better. Hey, there you go. Very good. Yes, they give you the y-intercept. So if you're smart about it, yeah, I have 5 points to pick from, but I'm definitely going to want to pick this 0, 9. And let's say that you want to stay away from negatives. Let's just assume you pick these two. Because of this, I already know that b is going to be 9. Because the y-intercept by definition is whatever y is when x is 0. If they give you the value when x is 0, that y is the y-intercept. But I need the slope. For the slope, it doesn't matter. You can pick whichever points you want. I'll just pick these two that I stuck to. Jade, what's the first y I see? What's the first y? 9. What's the second y I see? Change that to minus 12. What's the first x I see? 0. Okay. What's this? Remember, the first one you're always leaving anyways. What's the second x I see? So minus 1. Change the sign of the second. So negative 3 over negative 1 is positive 3. I now have the slope. In this case, I already knew the y-intercept because I was sneaky. So I know y is going to be equal to 3x plus 9. There is no need to take the detour through point slope because I just found the m and I already knew the b. So I just substituted into y is equal to mx plus b. Fax machine. Trayshawn, have you started dunking yet? Yeah? Since middle school? Oh, I didn't know that. How many times have you dunked on your brother? Nice. Very good. All right, see if you can do that one. Give me the function in slope intercept form. Go, Donnie, go. Go, Donnie, go. Defense. defense. What'd you get, Ferris? You're the man, Ferris. Well played, sir. All right, what 2 points did you pick? Doesn't matter. All right, let's just use the first two then. Ferris has spoken. Here, we're not lucky enough to have the y-intercept, but that's fine. We'll just find it on our own. So m is equal to J. What's the first y you see? 12. What's the second y you see? 14. But yeah, let's change the sign. What's the first x you see? Okay, write that the same. What's the second x you see? Well, -5, so we're going to change it to +5. For shizzle. So we get 12 minus 14 is -2. -6 plus 5 is -1. Negative divided by negative is positive. Chantal, give me now a point that you want to use. Okay, it doesn't matter which one. For those of us who maybe don't have the notes from yesterday, but if you're at least writing stuff down, the formula I'm about to use now is called point slope. It looks like this, where I'm plugging in the point that I picked for x1 and y1, but I have to change the sign because of this negative. I have to change the sign, and then the end goes there in front of the parentheses. So y, Chantal said use -220, so y minus 20, I gotta change the sign. I'm basically using this as x1 and y1 now. Y minus 20 is equal to 2, and then x plus 2, I have to change the sign. Did you use a different point? Oh, you did for real? Because it would have been a nice example for you to see also that you still did the same thing. This is point slope. If something asks you for point slope, you'd be done. You don't have to do anything else. But we want slope intercept, so we distribute and then plus 20. Awesome, Jay. Just don't scream though. It's not polite. There's no need for that. Chris, you still not understanding? Still not understanding? You said you were lost before. You're starting to get a little bit more. Let me know if you have any questions. We got 2 tables left. See if we can do that one. Wait, did we already do that one? It's like a repeat. It is. Never mind. JKLO, I'll skip that one. That's a repeat. Alright, do that one. Are you gonna be clever about this one? You little sneaky Ferris? Mr. Sneaky, sir? Raise your hand when you got it. February 24th. Oh, that's why. Okay. There you go. That makes more sense. Yeah, go ahead first. Y equals? That's not what I got. That's not what I got. You got it, Trayshawn? What'd you get? If only you guys could put your minds together. Each of you got one part of it right, but one part of it wrong. Yeah, Chantal. You got it right. I just don't like the way you wrote it. Yeah, that sounds better. That sounds better. So, if you're smart about it, you would definitely pick this as one of your points. Why? That's the y-intercept. Whenever x is 0, that's the y-intercept. I know that b is going to be 1 here. So that only needs a slope. Chantal, I'll let you pick. What points do you want to pick for a slope? Because it doesn't matter which points you pick. Okay, and negative what? Okay, negative 2, 5, and then? Negative, so you use these two here? Okay, fair enough. Just remember the y's go on top. So I would do like 5 minus 3 with a negative 2 plus 1, which gives you 2 over negative 1, which I believe that's the way you left it, but what's 2 divided by negative 1? Yeah. You should probably simplify this. Somebody asked me yesterday, oh, but Mr. Romero, aren't we supposed to write the slope as a fraction when you're graphing? If you're going to graph, it helps to write it as a fraction, but if not, so I just got the slope. I already knew y-intercept. So now I don't need to go through point slope. Y equals negative 2x plus 1. So Trayshawn, I think you had the y-intercept wrong. And then, but you had the slope right. Wait, but look, how about this, Mr. Romero? I did go through point slope and I got it wrong. Shouldn't I still be getting it right if I went through point slope? Well, let's see. Let's pretend that they hadn't given you the y-intercept. Pretend that wasn't there. Give me a different point, Trayshawn. Negative 3, 7. So let's use that. If I use negative 3 and 7, it will be y minus 7 is equal to the negative 2 that I found, and then x plus 3. Y minus 7 is equal to negative 2x minus 6 plus 7 plus 7. I still get the same thing, negative 2x plus 1. There will not be any word problems on the quiz, but why not take an opportunity for word problems anyway? They love you though. Yes, word problems love you. A canoe rental charges $20 transport fee and $30 an hour. So this is similar to what we did before. The only difference is it's going to be 2 variables instead of 1. So like they tell you that let cost be y, and then let x be the hours. So they've defined the variables for you. So let's write and graph. We won't worry about the graph. Let's just write it because I don't have a graph here. Let's just at least write it. So y equals the cost is equal to. What are you gonna even if you write it for a minute? What do you have to pay if you're paying a $20 transportation fee and $30 per hour? What are you gonna pay no matter what? No. Yeah, the $20 transportation fee you have to pay. Those stupid fees. But then the $30 is what's per hour. So that means the 30 is what gets attached to the x that acts as the slope. The 20 is the y-intercept. So if they want to know the cost for renting for 6 hours, what should I do with that 6? Plug it in for x, because x is the hours. So that cost is equal to 30 times 6 plus 20, which is 180 plus 20, which is $200. 200. Fax machine. A water tank already contains 55 gallons of water. When Baxter begins to fill it, water flows into the tank at a rate of 8 gallons per minute. Write a linear equation. All right, so here they haven't defined this for us. So what we're modeling is how much water there is inside the tank. So let Y be gallons. That's what we're measuring in gallons, yeah. Gallons. And then usually X is time. When there's a time component, X is going to be the time one. What are we measuring time in here? Not hours. Minutes. You see here how they say 8 gallons per minute? That's a ratio, gallons per minute, gallons divided by minutes. What else do we know is a ratio based on what we've learned in the last? Okay, well, a ratio is a fraction. Which one of these values that we've studied is a fraction? That's like rise over run thing. It starts with an S and ends with low. It's slope, good. So that's the hint that the 8 is going to be the slope. So y is equal to 8x plus however much water was already in there. How much water was already in there? Yeah, plus 55. That's the equation. Now, if they want to know how much water is in there after 25 minutes, what would I do with that 25? Plug it in for x. Y equals 8 times 25 plus 55. How much money do you have if you have 8 quarters? $2. Yeah. Donnie's making that money. So that's going to be 255, which means 255 gallons. Now, yeah, we don't have too much time. We only have a few minutes, but what I did want to do, let's see, this is what else? I wanted to practice this point slope because I'm worried that when we see it on the quiz that you're gonna start with, oh, but we didn't learn this, because on every single on every single one that we did, we ended up in slope intercept. I would hope we know what point slope is, but let's just, this is straight from the homework. Let's just do a couple of these. If they give you these 2 points and they want this in point slope, they've already written in the -3 part. Remember that a minus and negative becomes a plus? Well, who cares? That's already like written in. I can't edit that. So we'll leave that as is. Who cares? We still have to find the slope. So for the slope, it's subtract the y's. So 0 and then it goes +3 and then 1 minus 6. So that's 3 over -5, which is just going to be -3 over 5. I have my slope. But since they've already decided to use the -3 as their y, I have to use the 6 for the x. So tell me what the rest of that would look like. What would come first after the equal sign? In point slope, what comes next? If we're going to leave it in point slope, everything that we ended up with was slope intercept, but let's just pretend they wanted to leave it in point slope. Yeah, you got to go with the slope first, so -3 over 5. Then what comes next? Parentheses. And because they use the -3, you have to use the x that goes with the -3.
Okay. So
X minus 6. Yeah. Did I close the parentheses there? Yeah, close the parentheses. Yeah. Oh man, I didn't get the sound. The sound one. Let's see. Let's do another one. Here, Jay, let me see if I can make this page bigger for you. This will be it, and then we'll call it a day. Tomorrow we'll work with the with the Chromebooks. Here you go, Jade. So they've written in the first part, which tells us even though they're giving us 2 points, we know that eventually we're going to want to use this point. So like I know in the parentheses, it's going to eventually say x plus 5, because I have to change the sign, but I need to know what goes in front of the slope. So m is equal to, subtract the y, 7 minus 0, subtract the x is negative 5 plus 4, which gives me 7 over negative 1, and Chantal, what's 7 divided by negative 1? Negative 7. I believe Khan Academy will penalize you if you don't simplify that. So I'm going to write first negative 7, parentheses, and then that x plus 5 that I knew I was going to have to write. Ooh, see, I told you it's fun. Any questions on that? We'll work on this tomorrow. Hopefully, if you work on it at home already, you won't have too much to work on.
So
and then
on this one, we complete both points, right?
Not really, because they already have written in at the beginning which point they want you to use. You gotta.
There are both 4 and both points. There's 4 and both points.
No, one is 4 and one of them is negative 4. So in this case, you have.
Negative 4. You gotta use negative 4.
No, you have to use a positive 4 because that's already after they change the sign.
So we can use negative 4 and
No, you can't, because if this is saying y minus 4 here up front, that's because they used this one here. They used if they and actually no, this is a negative 4, but that's an x. If they would have used that point, this would have already been saying y minus 8. So you have to use the other 4.